Let's bring in Simon Cowan now on the desk with me, Research Director at the Centre for Independent Studies. Good to talk to you again, Simon.
Great to be back.
Now, you were tipping interest rate rises. You were saying really it was overdue. It had to happen. What's your just initial assessment of where our national economy is at with this decision and what it's going to mean for Australians right across the country?
Yeah, so I think overwhelmingly the message is positive, and even you can see from the RBA statements, a lot of what the language they're using is positive. It's not there's been an inflation breakout, it's we need to unwind our unprecedented level of stimulus because things are doing so well, which if you're going to increase rates in the midterm election campaigns, probably not the worst idea politically. But we did see a very significant increase in inflation. What we've seen from the RBA previously is a promise they weren't going to increase interest rates until they saw wages growth. What we have on that score is a statement in the press release saying, our whispers say that there's wages growth here. If the wages growth figures that come out in the next week or two don't show that, then I think there'll be a lot more pressure on the RBA. There'll be a lot more pressure within the economy because we're seeing the massive increase in cost of living. We have to also see the increase in wages to balance it out.
Will this add to the cost of living pressures? And on the other side of the equation, will it take the heat out of the housing market?
Well, so that's the really interesting question. What we're seeing is people are pricing in as much as 2 to 3% increases in interest rates over the next 2 to 3 years. Now, we saw 0.25% yesterday. That's a very small increase relative to, what we'd be looking at 2 or 3%. It'd be a massive increase in the way of the money necessary to service the kind of loans that we see here in Sydney and in Melbourne. If those sort of increases start happening, if we see the RBA increasing its interest rate by 25, 50 basis points every 2 or 3 months, that's going to have a massive impact, I think, on cost of living. 25 basis points unwinding from 0.1 to 0.35, that's not a massive increase.
Should they have gone earlier?
3.5 to 2 or 3, well,
has Philip Lowe got it wrong over the last 12 months?
Inflation has been sitting at that sort of worrying level for a little while. We did see underlying inflation previously was within the band, but the US is seeing inflation around 8%. The UK has inflation around 6 or 7%. We're now seeing expectations that underlying inflation in Australia could be as high as 4.75%, 5% in 2023. That would be quite a big distance above where the RBA band is.
Just very quickly, when are we going to see the next rise? Will it be next month or will they wait longer?
I think the RBA is going to wait to see if there's any impact from what they've done so far. They're going to wait to see if the international pressures driving inflation diminish. They're going to wait to see if things like petrol prices go down. If those things happen, there may not be pressure. If they don't, if inflation keeps rising, then we may very well see more rate rises.
Thanks for joining us, Simon. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Simon Cowan there from the Centre for Independent Studies.